Afghanistan, and also interviews with U.S. veterans speaking about the defense industry's agenda not being aligned with that of the American people. So really, the emphasis here in Beijing is about a reported failure of the American model.
Charles, China is also saying it is seeking friendly relations with the Afghan Taliban, but it's not endorsed the Taliban as Afghanistan's official government. Why?
Well, there's still a little bit of cautious here because in spite of all the criticisms of the U.S. presence in Afghanistan, China benefited from the security that this presence provided China. During the time that the U.S. was present in Afghanistan, the country was not used as a refuge for groups hostile to China, especially the East Turkestan Islamic movement, which is hostile towards China and its policies in the western region of Xinjiang. So really the most important thing for China is this security, the stability of Afghanistan. And this is right now their best bet at this security and stability is this deal with the Taliban that they struck in Tianjin in July. So the caution resides in the fact that in the last few days we've seen attacks targeting the Kabul airport, and we've seen that maybe the Taliban don't have such a great grip on security in Afghanistan at the moment.
Charles, thanks for that. France 24's Charles Pellegrin there in Beijing. Well, we'll focus on another big story today now, the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. More than 1 million people were left without electricity, including most of the residents of New Orleans. Thousands in the state of Louisiana are now facing the possibility of weeks without power. Ida was the 5th strongest hurricane to ever hit the United States. Hundreds called in for help to be rescued, but with the current death toll standing at just 3, Louisiana's governor says the situation could have been far worse.
If there is a silver lining, and today it's kind of hard to see one, it is that our levee systems really did perform extremely well. There's been a preliminary damage assessment of levees today, people getting eyes on those levees. We don't believe there was a single levee anywhere now that actually breached, that failed.
That's France 24. Stay with us.
Hello and welcome to the Europe Show. Today we are in Namur in Wallonia, the francophone region of Belgium, a country at the heart of the European project. But here, like in many other EU member states, there are strong concerns regarding the international free trade deals agreed between Brussels and other parts of the world. In this edition, we'll be bringing you reports from Belgium, France, Tunisia and Brazil to try to understand what impact these free trade deals might have on the farming world, but also on the economy. David Claraval, hello. You are Belgium's agriculture minister, a country of some 36,000 farms. Give us, please, an overview of the sector. What do you export the most?
Above all, we export meat. In the Flemish region, it's mostly pork, and 70% of the production is exported. In the south, in Wallonia, it's mostly beef, like here with the Bleu Blanc Belge breed that is behind us, which is a typical breed in this region. Then we produce a lot of dairy. On top of that, there is a lot of vegetables, especially potatoes, and then a great deal of cereal crops. So those are our 4 major sectors. On top of that, and this might come as a surprise, but there's also cocoa, chocolate, because we export a great deal of chocolate, although we don't grow the cocoa beans in Belgium, of course.
The famous Belgian chocolate. There are clear differences between Flanders and the Walloon region. Flanders, there's about 2/3 of the country's farms. And that means also that maybe the regions don't perceive international trade deals the same way.
The Flemish region has a great deal more intensive farming, which exports a lot of its produce. The Wallonia region is more the opposite, with extensive farming. So the two regions don't really have the same vision when it comes to trade deals that are agreed with other countries. We've seen in the past, for example, that the Wallonia region blocked the CETA deal with Canada because they thought it would penalize their economy. In the end, we did manage to find a compromise to unblock the situation, but it shows that there are really two different agricultural policies in Belgium.
On voit bien qu'il y a deux politiques agricoles en Belgique.
You just mentioned that the Walloon region managed to block the CETA. Do you think the Walloon region will block the Mercosur deal between Europe and South America?
There is a great deal of concern, especially in Wallonia. We have to be very careful that if we do enter into this trade deal, our farmers are put on the same level playing field as the agricultural sector on the other side of the Atlantic. Let's not mess around. Let's be clear about this. On the wider scale, from my position as an economic liberal, the Mercosur deal will be beneficial for Belgium because we will be able to sell more cars and more pharmaceuticals. But for our farmers, it won't be so positive. So the Belgian position has to take into account both sides. We aren't opposed to the deal, but our farmers need to be protected from unfair competition.
And you said you want fairer prices for cattle farmers like here in the Walloon region. How do you do that?
That's something that has to happen at the European level. If this deal is agreed, then clauses that protect our farmers must be part of the negotiations and part of the deal itself.
As Agriculture Minister, is it hard sometimes to make your country's interests coincide with those of neighbouring nations and of other EU member states? There must be a bit of friction and tensions at times.
Farming is totally different everywhere you go across Europe. But little by little, we are seeing there is a sort of renationalization of certain countries' agricultural policies. And we're seeing that some countries are beginning to prioritize their individual farm sectors rather than helping build a better collaboration.
David Claraval, thank you very much. We now have for you a report by Luke Brown, who went to meet farmers worried that hormone-fed beef will be imported from South America in large quantities, that it will be unfair competition. He also met with farmers, on the other hand, very excited by the prospect of exporting tons of French fries from here, Belgium, a speciality. Take a look.
In the fields of Wallonia, Belgium's green gold is in bloom. Here it's potatoes as far as the eye can see. 5 million tons of spuds are harvested each year, with exports worth €2 billion annually.
Belgium is at the heartland of potato country, so we have the best soil and the best climate. We are world leader in frozen potato products. For a small country like this, that's quite an achievement.
The vast majority of Belgium's potatoes are reserved for frozen chips. Indeed, frozen spuds represent a third of all Belgium's agri-food exports to Latin America. The sector sees huge potential in the EU's free trade deal with the Mercosur region.
We have a tariff up until now from 14% of every sack of frozen potatoes we import in the Mercosur countries. And if that tariff falls, that gives us, of course, the advantage.
But while the potato industry celebrates, other farming sectors are less enthusiastic. The Mercosur deal will allow a quota of 160,000 tons of beef into Europe with reduced tariffs. For beef farmers like Laurent Gaumont, who rears the prestigious Bleu Blanc Belge breed, that's a serious threat.
They're threatening to bring into Europe a considerable quantity of meat, but at prices that are really a lot lower than ours. But our prices are higher due to lots of environmental and social demands that we have to abide by, and which aren't respected in other countries.
In Belgium, the big winners of the Mercosur deal would be industries like the pharmaceutical sector, and farmers like Laurent believe agriculture is being thrown under the bus.
These deals are really aimed at permitting trade links between big companies and big structures. It's